Welcome to being at home with George on this Labor Day weekend, moving from the summer into fall. And I'm really excited, and it's interesting because this time of year is a time of year that people are going back to school, and this idea of learning, this idea of matriculating, and thinking about this idea of do you have to be in school to continue to learn, or is it important for us to continue to learn no matter how old we are and no matter whether we're in school or not? Can we do the self-learning? And I'm here to tell you that my experience has been one where I've been on this path of learning, growth, and development, continuous process improvement, if you will. And I've been reflecting on a few things, and I was asking others as well as myself how to experience more joy, more happiness, and feel more connection with self and other. And the way I have done that over the years is exactly what we're talking about, is realizing that one of the greatest adventures in living is getting to know yourself better. And that's been my experience, getting to know myself better, playing the inside game, being inside out, the internal, really realizing that I am responsible for my happiness and I make choices. And that what I've discovered is, as we talk about when we begin this program every week, we talk about embracing whatever comes up, saying yes to it, and generating hope. And that's how I've been on this joyful journey of self discovery and the satisfaction that comes from learning how to do things, learning about myself, learning how things work. Why? Because when I learn how things work, I can align myself with how things work. And I experience a lot of joy, a lot of excitement, a lot of happiness. Well, joy is something that we cultivate, just like I talked about. Hope is a skill, because I talked about generating hope after we embrace things. But we can say yes to life, and in that saying yes and embracing everything, especially the challenges and the difficulties, that they are learning opportunities. They are opportunities to get to know myself a little bit better, get to see how I respond to crises, how I respond to good things happening. And that's been my shift from being able to master these life experiences, these challenges and difficulties. And you've heard me say many times, how do we take a roadblock and make it into a stepping stone? And that's it, just looking at it and relating to it in a way that empowers, excites, motivates me. So this idea of seeing it as a challenge and an opportunity to learn something and to actually let my latent abilities express themselves through that baptism of the fire, if you will. And so when thinking about it, it's generating the hope. And I have this idea, or I say all the time, joy now or never. So that's a choice. I'm choosing joy. I'm choosing to say, how can I relate to this thing in a way that excites me? And that's understand that life is an adventure and that each day we have an opportunity to make today our masterpiece. And in that process, we get to experience the richness of our feelings and the sharpness of our perceptions. And that's what it's about. It's saying yes to life, generating a hope, but then realizing, okay, how do I generate more joy, more happiness, more connection with self and others? And that is by embracing things, saying yes to it, and bringing joy, bringing love into it. Because the interesting thing about love is that we love what we label for and we label for what we love. And so this idea of love, and that has to do with when we love something, we make it grow. So now it's talking about being constructive or productive and actually creating things, creating a way of being that connects me to power, connects us to power. And one of the things I've discovered recently in the last month or so, I've been reflecting on this idea of appreciative joy and this idea of we know about loving kindness where we want goodwill to everybody, and we know a little bit about compassion, being in suffering with folks who are suffering, not doing so well, and helping to alleviate that suffering, but seeing that suffering ceases to be suffering when we find meaning in it. And the meaning is, what's the lesson? How do we create this stepping stone out of a roadblock? So we talk about it that way, but then there's another way. And this other way is joining people when people are having joy or success. And I've had a couple of friends recently that have had newborns, have babies, and the joy of bringing a baby into the world, the joy of, I have another friend who trains fighters, and one of his fighters I met 3 years ago is now one of the top prospects in the boxing world. And so I was able to say to him, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for him. And you folks put in the work. It's through the hard work, the sustained effort, and the faith and the confidence in the process that you achieve. And this is what I'm talking about, the joy of discovery, realizing that one of the greatest adventures in life is getting to know yourself better. And in that process, that's what's possible for us. And so as I think about it, each of us can think about, well, who do we know or who do we see that's having success or being happy or having joy? I'm thinking about the Williams sisters at the Open, their last doubles, and they lost to the other team, and the other team was celebrating, and they were celebrating with each other, and they were honored to be competing against the Williams sisters. And at the same time, it was this idea of, okay, they lost, but I could be happy for the folks that won, and they won through their effort. And so this amazing thing about if we can join other people who have joy, who have happiness, who have a great connection with themselves or others, we can share in that energy. And by sharing in other people's happiness and not being jealous or envy, the antidotes of jealousy and envy and resentment. But what it also does, it gives us an opportunity to dwell in happiness, to dwell in joy, to really get clear with what it feels like when we are feeling more connected to ourselves and others. So we don't have to say much more to that. But what if we were to just notice when somebody's having joy, instead of having an opinion about it, just say, oh, I'm so happy for them. And I feel their joy. Just doing that, or I feel their happiness, or I feel their peace of mind. And if we could do that, now we can start getting rid of this illusion of separateness and realize that it helps us feel more happy when we're happy for other people. It helps us feel more joy when we have joy for other people. And we can wish people this idea of, may you have a greater happiness. May you experience a deeper joy. May you have more peace of mind. And that is this idea of learning. You can be on a joyful journey of understanding how to bring more joy into our lives, into the lives of the people that we meet.